I understand the problem of the developers when they have to ask to increase the resources for their applications or the server from an administrator. And I also do understand for the administrator because I was an administrator. So I know that when we have to increase the resources, how much issues or concern we do always have for our stakeholders, because the stakeholders, they keep asking us, hey, why you have to increase the resources for this specific application, because it does not require these many resources to put on. Then we have to submit a request and said, hey, actually we do not increase by our own. Actually the request was coming from one of the developer, and he would like to test this and that application on this server, and that's how we increase the resources. Not only these issues, while considering from submitting the application by developers and considering completion of the whole process by the stakeholders, this would take approximate in the past 1 week, at least within my experience. And during this whole week, the developers just need to wait. And there's another issue, because in the past, I was working as an administrator for an organization where we have an on-premises infrastructure, and you do understand that in on-premises infrastructure, we do have a very limited hardware resources. Right now, it is true that most of organizations are moving to the cloud, or most probably almost all Fortune 500 organizations moved most of their resources to the cloud, which added advantages to them, because right now they don't need to think about how much resources or how much hardware resources do they have. They just need to care how much they have to pay. So guys, today's world for developers have really a great place to work, because whenever they want to increase the resources, they can do it by their own. They don't need to ask any permission from their administrators, and they don't need to care about the infrastructure anymore, because they can simply put their application on the cloud, run, try, test, develop, and make sure it is absolutely running with 100% results. Hello guys, my name is Harsh Jangra, and in today's video we are going to talk more about Microsoft Azure App Service and serverless computing. Now, before to jump into the detail and the hands-on experience, I would like to try with the first option, that is what exactly we are talking about here is Microsoft Azure App Service, or what is serverless computing. By name, I think most of you get the idea that Azure App Service allows application developers to create their application, which is absolutely right, but with lots of advantages. The very first and the biggest advantage here is you don't need to worry or care about infrastructure. I'm talking about specifically hardware infrastructure. You simply need to come up with your code, just run those codes on the Microsoft Azure platform, and try and test your application whether they are running successfully or not. That's it. So what exactly the job of developers? Just try with the codes, make sure their codes are running well, there are less bugs. I mean, they don't need to care about that, hey, the RAM is that much, or memory required extra, the CPU requirement is this much and that much, because in cloud platform, or in terms of Microsoft Azure App Service or serverless computing, if developers really need to increase the resources like CPU, like memory, they don't need to care. They just keep developing the code, and automatically it has analyzed by Microsoft Azure App Service or serverless computing components, and automatically scaled up those infrastructure or those resources for you. That's the very much great advantages for developers, and that's what I said. It is really a great place to work for developers, and right now I'm sure if they are really working on the cloud platform, they are very much happy with it, because right now they don't need to wait for any permissions, any confirmation from the stakeholders. Yeah, they do need to inform their administrators or the stakeholders, because that is the requirement, right? So stakeholders or the administrator cannot refuse that, because they don't need to care about the hardware configuration, as I said. So yeah, this is absolutely fine for them. So we are going to talk more about it in details, step by step. But yeah, another thing you have to keep in your mind that both Microsoft Azure App Service and serverless computing is a part of platform as a service. Why we considering this is a part of a platform as a service, I will explain you in a bit, but this is what you need to know at the moment in nutshell, that what exactly the app service or serverless computing is. I'll repeat it in one line and please try to remember it, that Azure App Service and serverless computing allow us to do not worry, or allow developers to do not worry about hardware infrastructure. They just need to come up with their codes, whatever the language they want to use, like Java, Python, or any other .NET, any other language. They can simply write their codes and test and try their application or develop their application to the best. That's it, right? So that is the first thing you have to keep in your mind. And the second part, we are going to understand more about Microsoft Azure App Service and serverless computing, because guys, we have traveled, from last 10-15 videos we have covered, and we have started with Microsoft Azure Virtual Machine. And in Microsoft Azure Virtual Machine, you do understand that we have to provision those virtual machine. We have to install the operating system. Then if required, we sometimes need to set up the firewall. We need to configure the IP address if required. Generally, these all things can be set up automatically, but with a specific requirement, we have to do this. But in Microsoft Azure App Service and serverless computing, that is not required at all. In fact, we do also have a web application firewalls in Microsoft Azure App Service, which can be protected. And another advantage here is for both of these platform as a services that they are both auto-scaled, means if the codes or these applications required more resources, it is automatically assigned or increased by Microsoft Azure Smart Services, which is App Service and serverless computing. Another advantage, high availability. According to Microsoft, 99.95% is uptime, means the resources are running all the time. You don't need to worry about your server are gonna be less, or they might not work after some time. Not at all. Microsoft is solely responsible to make sure these resources are running up and without any issue. So that's another advantage, although we are going to talk a little bit more in details one by one, because I don't want you to confuse here. But before to jump in a little bit extra, let's try to talk on this picture, because both Microsoft Azure App Service and serverless computing have a similarities. First similarity, no hardware infrastructure concern required here. You don't need to think about it. Second, in both, obviously as Azure is involved, you can enable your authentications. Like if you have your Azure Active Directory configured and you have some users and you would like to authenticate them by using Azure Active Directory, by using or with your applications, you can do that, and you can simply use Azure Active Directory, or or also you can use third-party authentication services like Facebook, like Google services or Apple services to authenticate user and logged in your applications. Don't worry, I will go a little bit in deeper. I just want to give a brief idea about this service, how this works. The another thing is, DNS, just leave it here because it will automatically recognize if you are using a custom DNS. Let's say I'm using my website harsharena.com. It has to be verified by Azure DNS, and once it is verified, it goes to the app service, and app service has designed one application. It could be a web application, or it could be a mobile application. In both situation or both scenario, it will authenticate and verify that this is the valid username and the password. Then accordingly, it just analyze that how much resources it required to run this application. So it automatically join app service plans. What is that? I will explain you later. But right now, these service plans are responsible for whether we are going to use shared resources or individually or dedicated resources to run this application. Also, obviously, when we run these web application, we also require some kind of storage, right? So we can use Microsoft Azure storage services here. So right now, in this example, as I mentioned, I use storage blob. So our data is gonna save into the storage blob and everything runs absolutely fine. If required, because might be some of your data also in the SQL databases, you can also connect these web application to SQL database to verify your resources or your whatever, the data you are running on the application. So once it is verified, so your web application will notify to the user or the end user, hey, you are successfully logged in. Now you are able to access your application. So point here to mention is we are just need to focus on this part. And automatically in Microsoft Azure, all the service will be automatically assigned, provisioned, or you can say available for you. So don't need to think much. Just do for developers. I'm talking to the developers right now. So do the right thing, which is coding and develop application. That's it, because you are doing this at your best level, and that's the whole purpose of introducing these services in Microsoft Azure. And guys, in our third part, we are going to talk about that some of the practical, because we are right now in Microsoft AZ-900 certification. So although it is not required, but I think to make you understand better, I would like to share that how you can configure Microsoft App Service, how you can use these services, as well as serverless computing. So guys, let's jump in more and try to understand more about it. Let's talk more about Azure App Services. Now, Azure App Services is a part of a platform as a service, and it is designed based on one condition, as I mentioned, is for developers. Now, basically, Azure App Service allow developers to build, deploy, and scaled up their web application or APIs they are working on within their own terms. Now, they don't need to care about any infrastructure. They don't need to care about whether their services are going to be available or not, or they don't need to even care whether they need more resources or less. They just need to keep doing one thing, writing their codes and build and develop their application. Because as soon as their applications are ready, the Microsoft App Service will automatically auto scale up and down based on how the codes has been deployed or write into that particular platform. And also the Azure App Service allows your own on-premises web application to migrate straight to Microsoft Azure App Services. Although we are not going to talk about here in this today's example or today's session, but just to give you one brief idea that you can still achieve your ongoing running on-premises web application, you can simply migrate those directly to Microsoft Azure App Services. Along with that, Microsoft Azure App Services also allows you to take a backup of your running applications straight to the storage account you're going to choose. Again, we are not going to do it, but that you have the option here within Microsoft Azure App Service. Along with that, another thing you need to keep in your mind about Azure App Service, that is the high availability, because Microsoft Azure App Service will be available for 99.95%, because these percentage is too much high, and Microsoft will take all the responsibility to make sure your services are running up and fine without any hassle. Now, another thing you need to know about Azure App Service, which you can find in this picture right here. So basically, your Azure App Services has 4 different applications you can create, you can build within the service itself. The very first one we have is web apps. Obviously, I'm talking about web applications. So you can use any of your favorite language, which is .NET. Actually, my mouse is so slow. So you can use .NET, you can use Java. I'm going to at least write down alphabets. It's much more easier for you. You can use Python. You can use any other framework, any other language if you like. So the point here is you can build these web application with ease because you have all the platform. You can simply come up with your own codes. you can start building those applications, try, test, and deploy straight within Microsoft Azure App Service. The second one we have is the option to create or build or develop these applications within Azure App Services is APIs, which is called Application Programmable Interface, which means if two different languages, for example, if two different tools are running at the same application and they need to communicate with each other, then APIs need to build for them, because it's kind of translator for one language to understand another language. I think this example gave you more and better idea. And for developers, I'm so sorry guys if I missed anything, because that's the simplest way I can make other people understand what is APIs. So guys, you can also build APIs based on Azure App Services, because it gives you that platform, that power to build those applications with ease. And another thing about APIs, you need to remember that there's I think it's an open source platform called Swagger. So it supports complete access of Swagger, and all sort of codes and applications can be easily created within using API apps, because you can have bunch of advantages of using Swagger. If you want more information, you can just simply go to Google and type Swagger. And if you are a developer, I'm sure you're probably already aware about it. Now, the third thing is you can also build your mobile application within app services. Mobile applications are obviously, you can build your mobile application straight within app service. You can use storage for that. You can use authentication directly integrated in Azure App Services for that. So you have a bunch of advantages of using these mobile applications. And also you can take the backup of those data straight into the storage account, so that you can protect your web application or your mobile application in case anything lost, and you can get that back easily with just a small 2 or 3 steps. With the mobile application, I would like to mention you can use Bash. You can use few other things. Also, yeah, I want to talk about here web jobs. Web jobs I consider here as a part of a logic apps, but both have a little bit different things. However, let's talk about web jobs first before to talk about logic apps. Web jobs are also been including in Azure App Services, like Bash, like Python. You can run your codes based on these languages. C# directly you can use and build your applications. And last thing about the logic apps, which is kind of a part of serverless computing, but as I mentioned, both Azure App Services and serverless computing does not require any infrastructure concerns for any developer. They just need to come up with their own codes and start building into Microsoft Azure Platform as a Service place. Now, let's talk about logic apps first before to understand more that why we need to choose Azure App Service. Although we have already talked about it, but just give a little bit more details on that. So logic apps are for those people. Sorry about my voice, guys. Actually have some, don't worry, I don't have COVID, but it's night and I just finished my dinner. Yeah. All right, let's go and move forward, and because I don't want you to lose focus here. So guys, logic apps are created for those people who do not know codes, and they just want to use simple functions. And these functions are again set of codes, but for example, you want to try this and this and this to achieve this. I think you are trying to understand my example here, which is very weird. Point here is there are 3 steps to achieve your desired goal. Let's say you somebody logged in with the account. That's your first function. Second function, verification. Third function, access your data based on your profile. So based on 3 steps, the end result will come. So logic apps can help you to achieve those with ease. And don't worry, today we are going to do practical on that too. Now, the next one we have is why we need these app services. Although you are getting my point and you already have now complete idea, because we talk about in Azure App Services, we are basically developing these all services, including web jobs. So the first thing for developers, they don't need to care about infrastructure. Simply come, write codes and enjoy. Second advantage, it supports all sort of languages you would like to work with. Java, .NET, HTML, anything you say, you can start building your application straight away. Third, high availability, auto scaling. Both has been supported by Azure App Services. High availability, as I mentioned, 99.95. Auto scaling, obviously it will automatically scaled up, scale down based on your codes, or developer, like side by side you are developing your codes, it will automatically maintain that auto scaling accordingly. And the fourth point here I mentioned to just give you better understanding that there are more advantages of using Azure App Service. That is, if you already build some codes and upload it to GitHub, you can use them directly within Azure App Services. Also, if any of other websites supports GitHub repos, you can use them straight. Along with that, if you use Visual Studio or Azure DevOps, both can be used to build and create your application straight directly in Azure App Services. I hope you find this a little bit helpful, and the overall purpose here to mention is the Azure App Services allows you to create your application without any trouble or any hassle. Don't need to worry about infrastructure. And yeah, one more thing I forgot here. Sorry guys, security. Microsoft also ensures security, encryption, although they are not going to apply encryption directly on your application, but overall protection by building this application in Microsoft Azure environment. So you don't need to think or care more about it. And that's how administrator took these advantages, and they allowed directly project managers for software engineers to maintain their infrastructure by their own, because they don't need to now depends on administrators to take any specific decisions to increase or lower down their hardware resources. They can simply start building, and Microsoft Azure will take care of that automatically. So now we understand already more about Azure App Services. I think it's time to do some practical, because I think you sat a little bit bored here. So let's do some practical and try to understand more that how these app services works for you. Now, before to jump in the practical of Azure App Service, I highly recommend every one of you, especially developers, to at least go into this link and try to learn more about it. Because guys, as I mentioned, I'm not a developer and I may not touch each and everything for you. I am considering this particular knowledge just for those who is looking for AZ-900 certification. And I think we have already understood much more about it. But still, if you need to know much more in deeper, I think this link would be really helpful for you, because under this link, you can find out product overview, features, security, pricing, documentation, and everything else. Along with that, you can also find some of the advantages and how you can start building your application, what are the tools available for you, what services you can use, and lots of other things like advantages and why you need to choose Azure App Services, etc. However, I'm not going to focus on this particular thing at the moment. So let's jump on our portal, and after 6 months, I think, guys, I'm sure you already waited so long for that, and I really appreciate every one of you, and especially joining me on the YouTube channel, because my target is to just help you guys to learn much more and help this knowledge to get a job, or at least promote yourself into the same organization on a higher profile. However, let's not waste our time and let's try to learn more about Azure App Services. So guys, first of all, in Azure App Services, we need to understand we have to go to the Azure platform, which is right here for us. And to create a Azure App Services, we need to create a specific service first. So for that, we need to find out app services. If you type app service, you can find out easily right here, right? App services, just need to click on this, or you can simply search on the left hand side. Also, you can find, I think from here, from the favorite, yeah, it's by default available here as well, app service. As soon as you click on this, automatically this screen will up and open here. Right now you can see we do not have any information because we have not created any app service at the moment. So what we have to do, we have to create our app service from beginning. And as I mentioned, you can choose any language. You can choose Python, you can choose Java, .NET, PHP, anything. So let's start creating our app services for the practice. And this is the place from where you can do. So click add. As soon as you click add, first, obviously, you need to choose the right subscription where you are going to create this particular web app. And then I think for better practice for today, create a new resource group with the identical name so that we can easily delete these later, because it might use more money. If you are using a free account, then I think you don't want to spend more money, right? And obviously you are doing practices. So better do one thing, create a new resource group here for this practice. So I create and give the name Harsh Arena Web App. You can give any name, or I give Harsh Arena, not a web app service. Pretty simple and straight. So this is the name of my resource group here. Now, what do you want to give the name of this web application? I'm going to give Harsh Arena Web App. Simple as that, right? So as long as you give the name, it will verify whether this is available for you or not. And then once it is ready, just go to the next one. Publish means how you're going to start building your web application or app services, whether simply writing a code or from a Docker container. If you already build a container, you can use your container or you can simply writing a code, because my focus area right now is do not use any container. Simply after creation of this app service, I start creating those applications straight away. I mean, writing codes. So after that, guys, runtime stack. Now, runtime stack means which language do you want to use creation or means using your codes or building or developing your applications. So these are the default options available in today's date. .NET, Java, Node, Ruby, Python, PHP, any language you would like to choose here and start building your code, right? So as an example, because I already create a code, already create one for you. And don't worry guys, I will upload this code for you in my Google Drive so that you can directly access and do your practices with your own. So as an example, I'm going to choose .NET 5 here. And obviously I need to choose which operating system or which platform I'm going to use to build this application or build this app service. So as I mentioned, you don't need to do anything. It is just for the automatic provision. You don't need to touch anything here. Just simply choose which operating system you prefer to build your application, whether you are building for Linux or Windows. Here for me today, for Windows at the moment as an example, and choose the right region where you want to build this application. Now, another very important thing, guys. App services obviously does not require or does not need to care about infrastructure, but at once it will ask us whether what kind of service or what kind of provision service you would like to choose here. Means there are two kinds of services available. One, which we called shared service or shared platform. Another is dedicated platform. Shared platform means you choose the shared platform. It might be free for you, or it might have other people within the same region who might using the same shared resources as yours, because your application might not require that much high performance or power from the resources running on Azure. So you can choose that. But if you like to focus on a dedicated resource or you have a very powerful application, I think you need to choose the specific standard size. So let me help you to choose the right app service plan for you. So to understand that, here's the app service plan, and by default it is obviously allow me to create a new one because I have not created anyone. You can choose create new, or if it is still exists, it is absolutely fine. However, the important thing is SKU or size you have to choose. As soon as you click on change or size, on the right hand side you can find three important information. First, when we talk about shared resources, it means we are talking here about dev or test our application. If you choose shared infrastructure, which has 1 GB memory, 60 minutes a day compute size, which means it is absolutely free and it does not charge anything for you. If your application is low and does not require so much in use in everyday basis, I think you can choose, or I'm sure you can choose shared infrastructure. But if it required a little bit extra, performance, or you don't want to share your resources with any other organization, which is also based on Microsoft Azure, you can simply choose production, or you can choose any one of them. It's up to you. I think you can get more idea once you are here. However, in production, there are multiple different kind of SKUs available and their prices. So talk to your stakeholders, choose the right SKUs, how much they can afford, and how much your company concerned about, and based on that, just create your SKUs for this app service. Isolate it. I think you can get more information once you choose this. However, right now I'm going to choose production because after practice this, I'm going to simply destroy this app service. So I choose this one, click apply. So I choose standard S1, which is absolutely fine. Next, go to deployment. In deployment, guys, the continuous deployment, because if continuous deployment is there, and you need to give some more information about GitHub, because obviously you would like to deploy your application based on GitHub repository and everything. So right now we don't have, so I'm going to disable it. But if you have, you can enable it here. Monitoring. Obviously, it allows you to monitor your resources, whether it has been developed, whether it has been created, and you can have more control on your running application. So you can get more information once it has been created. Tags, if you like to create to recognize your application, you can do that. And once you're ready with everything or all the information seems correct to you, just click create. So guys, it may take some time, and as soon as it is created, we can start developing our application straight away. This is really cool. When I really heard for the first time, I feel, wow. I mean, as an administrator, now I don't need to worry about receiving those calls, those messages from developers. I can simply talk to them. Hey, talk to your project manager. He have whole authority. You can start creating your web application straight in Microsoft Azure. Auto scaling is enabled. High availability is there. I don't need to care about the backup at the moment. So everything is all secure there, and security is also enabled. So I feel so cool about this, app services. However, it has built successfully, and you can see it's completed very quickly, I think, right? So let's go back to home, and in home, we have to go under app services. Sometime you don't see any information, so don't worry. You can try refreshing this place. If you still don't see, just go to notification area. You already know the drill. Just click on deployment succeeded. And obviously it will show you go to resource. So as soon as you click on go to resource, it is available right here. And in just few seconds or few minutes, it is also going to show under app services. I will show you, don't worry. Now, here are the information. So how much is the traffic, data in, data out, request, response time. Lots of things you can find out here. Now, along with that, there's another thing. How you can find out that where to start building your application. But before that, I would like to share that you have an option for the backup, because I promised this to share with you. You can enable the backups, and you can enable backup directly in your SQL database, or you can simply in the storage account. I'm not going to do it today, but this is just for your information. The another thing, you can also attach or configure third-party vendors for the authentication like Facebook, Gmail within your web application. So tons of features are available. If you are running a specific custom domain, you can configure your custom domains right here. Another cool feature, I like it. SSL you can configure to protect your domains. However, we are going to talk more about how you can start developing, how developers take advantage of creating this app service here. So guys, we have to go a little bit down here, and here you have an option called App Service Editor. This is the preview service, but the advantage of this service is you can start writing your codes and creating or developing your application. So let's do it here. To create our application, I just click on Go. And once I click here, it will actually ask me to re-authenticate my username, which is already logged in. If it asks you, just log in with the same Azure account, and it is going to be fine after that. Now, once it is completed, it will automatically open one service or place where you can start writing your codes. So I think it is almost ready, and we can soon see here, right? So guys, here there are some more information that maybe you want to learn something more about it, you can save that. And the great feature I like about it, auto save. As soon as you write your codes, it will automatically saved by Microsoft App Service. So we are going to write down some codes here, although by default one code is already written. I'm going to delete it because I'm going to write my own code. And guys, I have developed this code for you. And as I mentioned, I'm going to share this code with you. Now, what has been written in this? It basically added just the name, which is Harsh Arena Training. And I just send one message that embrace yourself and learn every day something new. And obviously, I share one link, which is my website. It is right here, harsharena.com. And the another one is the picture or the pic, which I have uploaded in the website called i.ibb.co. You can use any online platform. So as soon as you build your code, it will automatically save, because as you can see, it is saved. So what you need to do now, or you can simply click here. You can try by clicking here. You can click here. It will automatically show. Wow. I really like it. I think we should remove this, right? I don't want to use this one because that might not be helpful. So I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to remove this. So you can see right now how much easy and how much good I feel this one is. Now try again. Now it seems good. Now I like it. So similarly, we can use this on the domain, and similarly, we can also deploy these web apps with these. And now you can see it is not secure because we have not tried with the secured authentication method. So let's close this, because Microsoft already provide this authentication pretty much secure to you. Now, how you can verify which one you have to use your service for that. So guys, if you remember, when we create this web app or web application, it asks us this website. So right on the right hand side, you have a URL with the HTTPS, although this has been enabled automatically, and it is using Microsoft choose domain name. So that's how it is secured by default. I copied this one and I'm going to paste in the browser to ensure whether this is running or not. Wow, guys. So this has been running successfully, and you can find out how much easy it is to build an application and deploy it with the help of Azure App Services. I hope you find this a little bit helpful, right? So now let's jump into serverless computing and learn more about logic apps. So finally, we are on serverless computing. We have spent quite some time on Azure App Services, and you can consider serverless computing similar to Microsoft Azure App Service, because both enabled developers to build their applications or start developing their application completely without any worry of infrastructure. Similarly, serverless also computing doing the same thing. Now, what else it does offer to us? So guys, in serverless computing, first thing first, let's start with step-by-step option. So I already explained that in this serverless computing as well, you don't need to worry so much about your infrastructure. Just come up with your codes, start creating or develop your code, and that's it. Enjoy your time. So similar, in serverless computing, there are two things we would like to talk about here. The first one is called Azure Functions. Now, what are Azure Functions? Guys, in serverless computing, as I mentioned, there are no server involved, but somewhere in the back end, yes, there are servers, but for us, for developers, no, there are no servers involved. Simply, it allows us to come up with, our language codes and start creating those applications with ease. Simple. Now, within Azure Functions, these are set of codes, means to achieve a desired role or desired outcome, we need to create small functions to achieve our desired goal. Now, to understand it better, obviously, you have to build all of your function based on codes without any confusion. You need to understand that. But how you can understand more about how your Azure Functions work for you. So basically, guys, this Azure function is a kind of application within Azure platform. And don't worry, I'm going to show you in a minute. But before that, let's try to understand this picture here. So I created this specially picture where I'm trying to give a API call from a mobile app using HTTP protocol. So I open the app and using that, I create an API call. Now, here's a function who is going to receive a call, API call from a mobile app, and it will be processed and verified based on authentication or whatever you have configured. And it is processed by the authentication and again using API because now it has to communicate with the database. It goes to the database. Now, once the database has verified the identity or whatever the authentication you have used, once it is verified the identity from the database, it again sent to the next function, means next step. Now this function said, okay, if it has been verified, then send a notification that you are successfully logged in over the mobile. Then again, guys, once the data has been received to this function, it will send a event to the mobile phones, which we receive sometime, notifications that your data has been uploaded successfully, or you have created this application successfully, somebody shared data successfully in Dropbox, in Google Drive. This is just an example. So all sort of notification goes from Azure Functions. And guys, you can build these Azure Functions straight into the cloud in Microsoft Azure, and with an advantage as soon as the request has been increased, because right now I'm taking advantage of only or using only one mobile phone. What if I have 1 million mobile requests? So don't worry, this request or this function can be create multiple requests, and based on that, it will be verified by the database and it reaches to the another function, which will be automatically auto-scaled to the whatever the required level, and then respond to multiple 1 million mobile phones. So that's an advantage of serverless computing. You don't need to worry about infrastructure, just simply deployed it with the correct code, and rest depends on Microsoft Azure Serverless Computing. It will do the job for you. Let's do one thing. Let me show you that where you can find this function app, because it's a separate serverless computing application. And I'm not going to write down any code because we have just done a practice, but I will show you that what kind of desired information you can find out in the Azure Functions just for your own knowledge. So now we are back on Microsoft Azure portal, and here we would like to check and review Function app, which is a part of serverless computing. So once you go into the Azure portal, simply you can type here function. So in the function app, the very first you can find as a function app, and obviously I have not created any function app at the moment. So let's create one, and it similarly work like app service, but not exactly the same. However, you can create a new resource group if you like, or you can choose an existing one if you like to create one. So for example, I create, same, I'm going to choose the same resource group. It is absolutely fine if you like to create any other one. Or I like to create Harsh Arena Test. That would be easy for us. Test function. This would be even better. Yeah, that's good. So how do you like to publish? With similarly like app service. So here I'm going to choose as a code, and which code you would like to choose here. Now additionally you can choose C# or PowerShell or Bash in the PowerShell core, or custom handler you can also add. As an example, I'm going to choose .NET version, up to you. Right now available is 3.1, where you would like to create EastUS2, and similarly hosting, like storage account you have to choose. It will create a new one automatically, which is absolutely fine for me, based on Windows. Yeah, serverless plan type, as you can see, for functions premium app service plan, because right now we are going to go serverless. Monitoring tags, I think no need to mention, because I just want to show you that what is going to happen after we create this function app right here. So as soon as it is created, I just click create and wait for just few seconds or even 1 minute, I think. As soon as the request had been submitted, it will automatically create a function app. You can find out either here or either in notification zone. And again, as I said, like app services, it take just few minutes. This will also take few minutes, so it won't take much time to complete. So as soon as the function app completed, now you just need to go into the same function app and start writing your codes. Yeah guys, it will take a little bit time to create your storage account because it's a new one. I do not choose existing one, I choose the new one, so it will take some time. Wow, it's cool, been completed while I'm talking to you. Great. Now finally our deployment has been completed successfully in just 1 minute, within 1 minute. So let's go to the resource, and what kind of information you can find out here. As you can see, you can find out the same application insights. You can also access, if you go down, same authentication, custom domain, and all sort of information you can find out. App service editor, remember we have tried in application service, so similar thing you can find out. Even more tool, API service, API management, definition. You can do and write your codes into the function and use this function for your own good purpose. It's pretty easy, not at all a difficult task, right? Now let's go back to presentation and let's understand more about logic apps. Okay guys, so now we understand that what exactly the work of Azure Function, which has mostly similar options like app services. So now let's go to the next option, which is Azure Logic Apps, and which will allow you to understand how workflows works within serverless computing. So basically the difference between Azure Functions and Azure Logic Apps is Azure Functions, it executing codes, and in Azure Logic Apps, it executing workflows. So these workflows are genuinely in the behind the scene based on Azure Functions. So no need to be confused. And before to understand Logic Apps, let's talk about the serverless computing advantages, which we have already discussed in app services, but just one more time. No infrastructure. Obviously, we don't need to worry about infrastructure. Just start deploying or developed our apps, writing codes. Simple as that. The cost is involved, pay as you go. And the best classic example here I would like to give is, let's say the 1 million request has been received by Azure Function. So during that time, how many requests has been processed by Azure Function? Only during that time, it will cost you that much money, or whatever the amount of money has been fixed by Microsoft Azure. Apart from that, if the Azure Function is not in use, this is not going to charge you anything. You just simply write your code and things are running right up to the mark without any issue. I hope you get my point here. And the third one is scalability. We already discussed about it. It will automatically scale up and scale down based on requirement. Now, how to understand Azure Logic Apps? Guys, to understand Azure Logic Apps, it's pretty simple. And right here, I actually create one simple example where, when people don't know how to write codes like me, I'm one of the, not a stupid, I must say, but yeah, that dumb that I don't know how to write a code, I don't know how to create a software, but still I don't know, I know administration. Anyway, so in the Azure Logic Apps, guys, it is already been written based on functions, and we can use these functions and correlate these functions to third-party functions to execute our desired outcome. So that's a classic example I can give you here. And in this one, it's pretty simple and straight that we choose Logic Apps in creation. And in Logic Apps, I choose third-party creation, which is based on Twitter. So in Twitter, whenever I'm going to run hashtag shut Harsh Arena, means whenever I type this, it automatically reaches to another Azure function, which means server need to be shut down or relaxation. This is what my word. But as soon as Twitter write down this hashtag, shut down Harsh Arena or shut Harsh Arena, automatically it will shut down the server. Okay, that's all about the Logic Apps. Similarly, using the same Twitter power or Twitter handle power, I type hashtag restart Harsh Arena, which means it will ask to restart. I am not going to go into Microsoft Azure. I do not open my server. I just use Logic Apps, and it seamlessly integrated with all this Microsoft platform, and automatically it review that request and send that request to the server, and it automatically restart your server. That's it. That's the main advantage of Logic Apps, which is based on multiple functions. Combine those functions and you will get your desired outcome. And this is specially created for those people who does not have any knowledge on codes or anything like this, right? Pretty simple, pretty clear, right? Let's do one thing, guys. Let's have a practical on this as well. And let's try to use Twitter account here. How about that, right? So let's do the practical and come back on the slides. So now we are going to configure the Logic Apps. Basically, as I mentioned, it's a kind of a workflow process, and we need to choose the right step. And obviously today, in today's practice, we are going to use third-party process here, which is based on Twitter handle. And I will tell you that how you're going to delete your resource using Twitter and with the power of serverless computing in Microsoft Azure. So guys, to start with this step, let's go to Logic App first. In the Logic App, we have to create this Logic App, which is a pretty simple process, and just go to consumption option, because we are talking serverless computing here. Now, choose the right subscription, create a resource group. Let me see if I have created. Yep, I have created in the past Harsh Arena Logic resource. If you have not created any of your resource group, create a new one. Then give the name of your Logic App. So I'm going to give Harsh Arena Logic App. Always have a typo with me. All right, so Harsh Arena Logic App is right here. Choose the location. We are going to choose East US2 because that was a preferred location for us. Now, obviously, if everything is, we don't want to use it anyway. So simply click on review and create, because nothing more and special in the Logic App at the moment. So hit create. Now it will create a Logic App for us. And what we are going to do with this practice, we are going to delete our resource group using Twitter handle, and that would be pretty sweet. And I really enjoyed it when I test and tried for the first time after like a couple of months ago. Anyhow, let's go to resource to try it and test this process. It will automatically go to this page, which is the Logic Apps Designer. You have to choose this option. And here, guys, just additional information that you can find more than 200 types of connectors, which means it also has Microsoft Azure Services connector. It also has third-party connectors. You can use any one of them to achieve your desired goal. Now, at this practice, we are going to choose Twitter handle. So I'm going to just choose a Twitter handle as an example. Here, on the very first page, it will ask you to logged in with your, you know, already account. So if you already tried, because I have tried this, okay, add a new connection. Anyway, I'm going to do it with a brand new connection so that we can try and test this one. Now, at least it allows us to go to the next step. Now, what we are going to do here, we are going to write down delete Harsh Arena web app, because that web app has been created. So we are going to choose this one. So I write down pretty simple step, and as soon as it has been done, just click next step. And here you need to choose the resource group. So as soon as you type resource, make sure you choose the right option, which is delete a resource group. And there you go. So delete a resource group is the option for me. Now it asks me to log in with my tenant, because here I have to log in with my current existing Azure account. Once it is authenticated, then we are ready to go to the next step. I mean, the whole connection, the whole session has been completed. Yep, that's fine. This is me. Just click on this. It will automatically sign in, and within this directory, within this directory, now what we have to do, we have to choose the right subscription. And in the right subscription, we have to choose the right resource group. So this is the resource group we would like to delete, right? So once it is done, click save. It is going to trigger when a new tweet is posted, and it will keep checking in every 3 minutes. If you forget what you have to post, you can click here and write down, or just remember, delete Harsh Arena web app. Simple. So now let's open Twitter handle. Twitter. In the Twitter, make sure you are logged in with the right account. Yeah, I'm logged in with the Harsh Arena account. And let's click on tweet and write down delete Harsh Arena web app. Try this one, guys. I'll write down this one for you, and I'm sure you're going to do the practice. So as soon as you type this one, just make sure both are the right thing. Delete Harsh Arena web app. Delete Harsh Arena web app. All good? Just click tweet. Now this has been tweeted. Once you go home, you can find out this has been tweeted. And let's go back to the Logic app here. Now automatically you can find out short notice here under the status. Let's try to refresh and wait for some time. All right, guys, as you can see right now it is running, because I refreshed the page and it's showing me right now running, and we have to keep refreshing. And let me just open this in a duplicate. Yeah, because right now it is running. We have to go to home page and resource group, because right now it should be, yeah, we can find out Harsh Arena App Service right here. So as soon as it is finished successfully, or run this whole process for us, then we can find out whether the resource group exists or not. So wait for this Logic app to complete. The workflow has to complete, and keep refreshing, because sometime it takes 1 minute, sometime it takes 1 minute, couple of seconds. And as soon as it is succeeded, I will come back, and then we can see whether we can find out our resource group or not. All right, guys, so now you can see my session was succeeded successfully. It means that, according to me, the Twitter handle power helps us to delete everything. Everything in the sense, whatever the connector or the workflow we have used. So let's go to the resource group. We can find out, yeah, it exists. Harsh Arena App Service still there. Let me refresh this. We need to make sure this has to be deleted. Harsh Arena App Service. There you go. All right, guys. So now I really enjoyed this practice, because Twitter handle is a third party tool, and not a tool, it's just a social media app, and which really helps us to manage our Azure resources using Logic Apps. Now that's how Logic Apps works, and that's how the server computing is powerful. I hope guys you find this whole session quite helpful, because before to jump into this session, hands-on lab, I prepared this kind of slide and presentation to you, but we have already finished both Logic Apps and App Services. And I think it would be quite helpful for you to understand that how these services works and what are the advantages of using these services. All in all, just to get this information before you leave, that both services can be used for developers, also non-developers who don't know how to develop an application, but they can still use Logic Apps to achieve their desired goal within Microsoft Azure if they really want to do that. Anyhow, thank you so much guys for watching this video. I really thank you for always tuning in on my channel, and I really appreciate all the comments, all the feedbacks you have given. Now I'm back. I'm also give you your answers on the comments one by one. So thank you once again, and thanks for watching once again this session. Please take care of your health, guys. The corona has a second wave in India, and I'm also in India, don't worry. And I'm facing the same problem like you. So we also have to take care of ourselves as well as our family members. So hope everything gonna be fine very soon. That is all I hope, because I have a plan to come to your city and we can have a cup of coffee. We can sit together, have a discussion. So yeah, anyway, right now, please take care. Have a good time. Peace.